Before we even look at the data, I want you to think about the last time you felt truly, completely full. Thanksgiving dinner, maybe, or an all-you-can-eat buffet. That heavy, warm feeling in your stomach. We call that satisfaction. We call it happiness.
It is a good feeling. It implies safety. It implies that I have enough resources. In a chaotic world, a full stomach is one of the few comforts we can rely on. Why would you frame that as a problem?
Because your biology doesn't view that feeling as safety. It views it as an emergency. We have spent the last 50 years building a civilization dedicated to the concept of manpuku, eternal fullness. But we forgot to check the manual. We forgot that for millions of years, the human machine was calibrated for sashoku, rough eating, scarcity, the edge of hunger.
You are saying we are not designed to be full. That seems counterintuitive. Every organism strives to get enough energy.
Strives to get it, yes, but not to drown in it. The tragedy of modern humans is that we achieved our biological goal, infinite energy availability, only to realize that our internal software treats abundance as a fatal error. We are running a Pleistocene operating system in a world of hyper-palatable abundance. And the clearest evidence of this crash isn't in our waistlines. It is in our hormones.
Hormones? You mean like insulin?
I mean the imbalance in the signaling network. We assume that the body has a balanced way to say start eating and stop eating. A 50-50 split, but that is a lie.
Okay, show me the proof.
Open the file. Let's look at the schematic on page 1.
The asymmetry of desire. This visual is striking. A single drop of oil versus a flood of light. And the key stat is 1 versus 12 plus.
This is the structural flaw I was talking about. We have identified over a dozen distinct hormonal signals tasked with shouting, "Stop eating." You have leptin, PI, CCK, GLP-1, insulin, amylin. The list goes on. They are a chorus.
That sounds like a robust system. If there are 12 breaks, we should be very good at stopping.
You would think so, but look at the quality of those signals. They are described as weak, fragile voices. They are suggestion boxes. Now, look at the other side. What is the signal for go? What is the signal for hunger?
The slide lists ghrelin. Just one.
Primarily, yes, ghrelin. And unlike the chorus of breaks, ghrelin is not a suggestion. It is a primal scream. It is a singular, overriding command from the stomach to the brain that drowns out everything else.
So we have one accelerator that is floored, and 12 brake pedals that are barely attached. Why would evolution design a car like that? That sounds like a death trap.
In 2024, it is a death trap, but for 2 million years, it was a survival engine. You have to look at this through the lens of risk. In the Paleolithic era, what was the risk of missing a meal?
Death, starvation.
Exactly. The cost of a false negative. Not eating when food was there was extinction. So nature installed a siren that you couldn't ignore. Now, what was the risk of overeating?
I suppose a stomach ache, being a bit slower.
Negligible. There was no evolutionary penalty for binging, because the food would run out anyway. Nature never needed to install a strong brake, because the environment provided the brake. Scarcity was the brake.
So we relied on the world to stop us, not our bodies.
Precisely. And now that we have removed the external brake, we are left with this terrifying asymmetry. 12 whispers against one scream. And in a world of infinite calories, whispers don't work.
That explains why dieting feels so impossible. You aren't just fighting a habit. You are fighting a survival mechanism that thinks you are dying.
You are fighting a security system that has won every war it has ever fought. And society isn't helping. We have built an entire culture around triggering that go signal. Let's move to page 2.
The happiness trap. This looks like a sterile supermarket aisle. The products are blurred, but the price tags glow with neon chemical formulas.
This is the modern hunting ground, but instead of tracking a gazelle, we are tracking dopamine. The script calls fullness a modern narcotic.
It says, for 99% of our history, humans lived in sashoku, rough eating.
Sashoku doesn't mean starvation. It means coarse food. Simple, fibrous, hard to digest, and intermittent. That was the baseline. The body views that state, the state of being slightly hungry, agile, seeking, as optimization.
And manpuku.
Manpuku is the blue pill. It is the illusion that fullness equals success. But biologically, when you achieve that state of heavy satiety, you are effectively putting your machinery into a coma.
The slide says, we are not designed to be full. We are designed to be hungry. That is a hard sell. Being hungry is uncomfortable.
Growth is uncomfortable. Repair is uncomfortable. When you are hungry, your body turns on its repair systems. When you are full, it turns on its storage systems. And right now, we are storing ourselves to death.
But isn't the body supposed to adapt? If we have more food, shouldn't we just burn more energy? Why do we hoard it so aggressively?
Because your body doesn't trust the supermarket. It thinks this abundance is a trap. It thinks winter is coming. Turn to page 3.
Hardware, the Thrifty engine. We are looking at fat cells here. They look like a golden storage facility.
This is the Thrifty genotype hypothesis. In 1962, Neil proposed that diabetes genes were actually survival genes. Your adipose tissue, your fat, isn't dead weight. It is a high-frequency trading algorithm.
Trading energy.
Exactly. It hoards liquidity, calories, during the boom times to survive the inevitable market crash, the famine. The problem is, the crash never comes, but the algorithm keeps buying.
The slide mentions the Minnesota starvation experiment. 25% weight loss triggers obsession.
This is crucial. When those men lost weight, they didn't just get hungry. They went insane. They became obsessed with cookbooks. They became aggressive.
The hardware hijacked the software.
That is the power of the asymmetry we saw on slide 1. As soon as your fat stores drop below a certain set point, the primitive brain engages. It treats dieting like a physical assault. It unleashes ghrelin.
So willpower is a myth.
Willpower is a cortical function. It is the newest, weakest part of the brain. Ghrelin comes from the gut and the hypothalamus. It is ancient. Bringing willpower to a ghrelin fight is like bringing a calculator to a knife fight.
Okay, so the go signal is overpowering, but surely the quality of the food matters. We aren't just eating raw calories. We are eating nutrients.
We are trying to, but the modern food environment has hacked that too. Look at page 4.
Software, the protein leverage. A deconstructed hamburger, the bun turns to smoke, leaving a metal structure.
This is the protein leverage hypothesis. It is one of the most elegant explanations for why we overeat. Your body has a non-negotiable target. It needs protein, roughly 15% of your total energy intake.
So we eat until we get that 15%.
Correct. Your body counts nitrogen, not calories. In nature, protein came packaged with fiber and water. It was self-limiting. But look at modern processed food.
It says nutrient decoupling on the previous slide.
Exactly. Processed food dilutes protein with cheap fats and refined carbs. So, to get your 15% protein from a bag of chips or a fast food meal, you have to eat a massive amount of garbage energy along with it.
So I am not gluttonous. I am just mining for protein.
You are starving for structure while drowning in energy. Your body forces you to keep eating the carbs, triggering insulin, storing fat, just to find those few grams of amino acids it needs to build cells.
It is a leverage trap. The cheaper the food, the more you have to eat.
And the house always wins. The food industry knows this. They engineer foods to have just enough protein to keep you eating, but not enough to trigger the stop signals like PYY or CCK.
That is manipulative. But wait, if our bodies are so smart, why don't they realize what is happening? Why doesn't the feedback loop work?
Because we broke the sensors. Go to page 5.
Source code, the scarcity filter. A Paleolithic hunter versus an office worker. The DNA helix is rusting.
The source code assumes scarcity. In the Pleistocene, a false positive, eating when you weren't hungry, cost you nothing. You just stored a bit of energy. A false negative, skipping a meal, could mean death.
So we are coded to say yes to food.
We are the descendants of the paranoid and the gluttonous. But here is the specific mechanical failure. Feedback inhibition.
The slide says it relies on the signal being intermittent.
Think of a smell in a room. If you walk into a bakery, you smell bread. If you stay there for an hour, you stop smelling it. Your sensors downregulate because the signal is constant.
Nose blindness.
Exactly. Now apply that to insulin and leptin. In nature, food was intermittent. You ate, insulin spiked, then it dropped. The silence reset the sensor. But in the modern world, we are grazing 24/7. The signal never drops.
So the body goes deaf to the signal.
That is insulin resistance. That is leptin resistance. We have bombarded our sensors with so much abundance that they have simply shut down. We have deafened the very systems designed to save us.
And there is something here about a uricase mutation.
This is the final nail in the coffin. Millions of years ago, during the mid-Miocene, the Earth cooled. Our ape ancestors were starving. A mutation occurred that disabled the enzyme uricase.
What did that do?
It made us incredibly efficient at turning fructose, fruit sugar, into fat. It was a superpower for surviving winter.
But we don't have winter anymore.
But we have high fructose corn syrup. Every time you drink a soda, your body thinks, winter is coming, store everything. This ancient survival hack has become a metabolic suicide pact.
It really is a mismatch on every level. Hardware, software, source code, all of it is fighting against the modern world.
And the result isn't just obesity, it is internal chaos. Turn to page 6.
The glitch, entropy accumulation. This looks like a machine engine. One side is blue and clean. The other is red and sooty.
This is the thermodynamic cost of manpuku. Life is essentially a fight against entropy, against disorder.
We usually think of calories as fuel.
Calories are fuel, but burning fuel creates exhaust. When you are in sashoku, scarcity, your cells activate a process called autophagy.
Self-feeding.
It sounds bad, but it is cleaning. The cell recycles its own waste. It burns the junk. This is the blue flame. It is low entropy living. The machine runs clean.
And in manpuku,
the machine is flooded. The mitochondria, the power plants, are overwhelmed with fuel. They leak electrons. This creates reactive oxygen species, ROS.
free radicals.
Exactly. They rust your cells from the inside out. The slide calls it cooking our organs in their own metabolic waste.
That is a graphic image. So aging isn't just time passing.
Aging is the accumulation of unexported entropy. By constantly topping up the tank, we never let the engine clean itself. We are prioritizing the dopamine hit of fullness over the structural integrity of the cell.
So we are trading lifespan for comfort.
We are trading 40 years of life for the feeling of a full belly, which brings us to the bleak reality of our situation. We cannot just decide to fix this. The hormonal asymmetry is too strong.
So what is the solution? If willpower fails and the environment is rigged, where do we go? Page 7.
The horizon, pharmacological scarcity.
A cliff made of pills. Lost lifespan expectancy, 40 plus years.
We have reached the point where our biology is so mismatched with our environment that we need chemical intervention to survive our own success.
You are talking about the new weight loss drugs, GLP-1 agonists.
I am talking about scarcity simulators. These drugs aren't traditional medicine. They don't fix a broken bone. They hack the software. They artificially boost one of those weak stop signals, GLP-1, to shout as loud as ghrelin.
They balance the equation.
They chemically induce the famine memory. They trick the body into thinking resources are scarce, so it finally takes its foot off the accelerator.
That sounds dystopian. We have to trick our bodies into thinking we are starving just to exist in the world we built.
It is the definition of an evolutionary trap. We built a paradise of abundance, but our bodies are built for hell. To live in paradise, we have to simulate hell in our veins.
Pharmacological scarcity. It is an admission of defeat, isn't it? We couldn't handle the fruit. So now we need the antidote.
It is an admission of reality. The asymmetry of desire is too steep to climb alone. We can either accept the entropy and the early death, or we can patch the code.
I suppose I will look at that full feeling differently now. It is not contentment. It is the sound of the engine overheating.
Exactly. Stay hungry. It keeps the engine clean.